Hello friends, welcome back to Value Vintage Cards. As promised, I wanted to do a deep dive on some of these R sets. So the R312 is where I'm going to start. Starting with this set because I have such a limited population from that set. It's a small set, there's only 50 cards total. I only have 5. There's probably maybe as many as a half dozen more than I want. I'm obviously not a set collector, but there are some pretty key cards to that set that I still want to get. With this set, you are looking at a 4 by, I think it's 5 3/8 dimension, so almost 4 by 6. There's a lot of parallel between the design of the R313 and the R312. You'll notice the writing on the cards is extremely similar. The population being 50, they break it down. There's 25 that are solo player, more like portrait type style. There's 14 that are multiplayer of some sort. And then there's 11 that are classified as like in action. Kind of interesting how that all breaks down. I don't know if I have any that are classified as in action here, but I'm going to start showing you the 5 that I've got. One of the purest questions, and it really is to the root of like what can keep you excited and what can keep you fearful when it comes to new eras, new issues, things like that, is how do you know what it is? Part of it is, dive in, start watching. I would say that's the best way. It's almost, stock market, same thing. Get a stock simulator, pick some stocks and see how you do for the next 6 months. And if you do well, you'll wish you would have jumped in, and if you don't do well, you'd say, I'm glad that was practice. Get in there, just start some watch lists, pick a couple sets that you think have some interesting players or some cards you want to pick up. I think that's a great way to do. When you see them, you have to know all the key indicators, so know what makes that set specific. This set, when you see it, is going to look a lot like many of them on the back. This one has a big stain to it, but there's nothing on the back. It's blank. I took these out of the top loaders. I have 3 ungraded and 2 graded. I always like having an example from these sets, if possible, so you can get a feel for just how fragile it is. I mean, literally to the point, like holding this without being graded, I want to make sure my hands have no oils, no sweat. I've just washed my hands. I don't have the white gloves, but I want to do everything I can to make sure this card is protected. I don't crease it, I don't drop it, and I preserve it as best I can until I put it back in the top loader. This one that I was showing, it's literally so thin with the background lighting, I can see the entire image as I'm looking at the back of the card. Kyler. So the images of these are spectacular. They're taken from actual images, so just like an R313 would be. That's the fine pen, so it's got the thinner signature to it. But the R313 is a black and white photograph image. So with this, this is called the pastels. I kind of call it the watercolor set. Somebody went through and artistically added colors to make for some really vibrant, interesting images. I thought Kyler, I'm not a big Kyler collector, but you know me, a lot of times if I'm not going to collect like a full player run, some of the players I want to get their full run, Stan Musial, Yogi Berra, like I collect those players pretty hard. I want to have every card I can find of them. When you get to somebody like Kyler, I don't necessarily want to get everything I can find of him. There's nothing about his career per se and how I collect that makes me want to feel compelled to get everything I can possibly find. So what I want to do is find a couple examples that are either great illustrations, potentially just really captivating images, or significant in the hobby for some reason. This one I think is a little bit of all those things, honestly. And this is such a bargain. If you're looking for a great pre-war card and you want to get 2 Hall of Famers at once and a cool image. Actually, let me start with the back. I'm going to show you this. I bought these from the same seller who is a larger seller, so it's not like it was his collection, but I'm going to guess these came from the same collection at some point. But look at that thing. There is an R313 of that. Not all of these have the same image in both sets. In fact, I think most don't. But this one, there is an R313, so you can get a real image of it. Or you get this R312, this pastel. Big Jim Weaver holding two Hall of Famers. Big Person and Little Person, or Big Poison and Little Poison. Paul Weiner and Lloyd Weiner. How cool is that? So, absolutely love that. Centering, of course, on that is less than desirable, but when you're collecting those kind of items, I'm not picky. I'm good. So, I thought that was one of the better classic images. This next one is probably going to be my favorite card in the entire set. It's probably a top 10 or 20 card that I just think is amazing. Another common issue you'll find with these, there is tape damage on the back. Again, with these, I'm going to tell you, don't worry about that. If you like the set and the front image is great, I almost consider that good fortune to find minor damage on the back. That doesn't impact the card whatsoever, and the front image is still completely spectacular. So you're getting Connie Mack and Lefty Grove on the same item, same card, in almost a 4x6. So this will present well on a shelf. This will present well, with a larger stand. If you have display case area, obviously it's bigger than a standard slab. Maybe that's why it's more affordable. But these are, you can get these for $200-300 all day. I think mine was $150 something. And I haven't had it for too many years. But absolutely one of my favorite cards and items for sure. All right, on to the final two. Two of the bigger cards in the set, I think. There is still a Hornsby I do not have. I think there might actually be two Hornsbys. One where he's with somebody else and one where he's alone. There's a couple others, Gabby Hartnett. All these R's, you do find a lot of like Hank Greenbergs and things like that. Lefty Gomez is in a lot of the sets. So you get a lot of these Hall of Famers. Greenberg, I think, is, maybe inner circle-ish. His career was spectacular, but there's a lot of these Hall of Famers you can pick up for dozens of dollars. This one's a little bit bigger because this is considered to be maybe his rookie. A lot of times in this era I use the term a rookie because between being tough to find and being maybe a couple of different years things are issued, a lot of times they'll say, a 36, a 37, maybe even a 38 will count as rookies, and there's 4 issues and they're all kind of considered rookies by different people. This one I think is maybe the only 36 issue, and because it is decently distributed, I believe you might want to count that as truly like his rookie. Johnny Mize. And also this one, so it's another Hall of Famer that I'm not going to get like, an entire run of for any reason. This is really kind of what I want to do for an example for him. Get the idea of this slab. It's considered a 2, which, I think that's almost a silly label to it to be a 2. This is pretty phenomenal in terms of condition. Not a lot of creasing, centering. I don't know how you criticize centering on a 1936 oversized issue. It's crazy. Even the back of it is very, very clean. So for this one, it's such a classic image that I thought if I'm going to have Johnny Mize, maybe 3 or 4 examples in my entire collection, I thought this would be one that would be a great representation. And it's one of those cards when I show people like, that's cool, I like that one. It's on the list. Cool. That's what I look for. It's stuff that is that kind of appeal, because I feel the same way about it. And then the last one, it's a player I used to have, is 38 Gowdy. Do not anymore, but there's the label in nice and close. Got an authentic, and it deserves an authentic. These slabs, PSA and SGC, are probably equally offensive in how ridiculous the look at this tray table. I mean, it's just enormous. But that is your Joe Dimaggio example. Mine has paper loss in the front, which made it literally hundreds of dollars less than it could have been. For me, the rest of the image is pretty darn solid. I've got a few cards like this, where they either have like paper loss or they have like residue. I mean, it almost looks like somebody dropped some spackle on it or something. It looks crazy. But the most of the image is totally fine. And you're getting a 1936 Joe Dimaggio. So, 38 Gaudi is often regarded as his rookie. You do have some 36 issues that I don't have, and there's 37 O-Peachy issue, but when you start looking at what's available, these are such a great bargain. So to get a 36 Dimaggio for under $1,000, these R series are phenomenal. So the back of this one is definitely why I would get authentic. Looks like it's got an entire piece of paper stuck to it. But these things are reflective, and crazy glare at a distance you get more of appreciation. You actually see just how big it is. Like, that's an enormous slab. That's literally could be a pillow if it wasn't so ridiculously tough. But that's it. That's really all I wanted to do, a little bit of a deep dive. So if you're looking at exploring another set, especially if you're looking for some periphery Hall of Famers, somebody that's not inner circle, Dimaggio will be some dollars, and Hornsby's and Greenbergs and things from these sets can be significant, but a lot of them you can get for under $100, and some of them for 20, 30, 40 bucks. So definitely recommend checking out the R's. R312 in particular is neat because it is a small set, and you get some of these like multiplayer, the Lefty Grove and Connie Mack card in particular, like just amazing. The Wainers with Weaver, like amazing. So give it a check, and that's what I have so far for R312, and a little bit of a rundown on what the set is. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.